I know that storytelling is a big part of your artistry, your music. So for those viewers who've had a chance to listen to your music, because I know you've also been in Burlington before, you've been out this way before. So, but with respect to kind of storytelling, you also, I feel it's alive in your music again, especially where I get to understand the lyrics and can find some of those translations. It's really helpful. But I know that there's a book that you've put out called Makuzi Loves Music, and if I've said that incorrectly, please correct me. But I've taken my children through it, and they really really appreciated, especially the emphasis on like making the language accessible in terms of definitions and even how to pronounce some of the words. But like, what was the inspiration for this book?
Well, you did a fine job in pronouncing it. The Inuktitut is a very hard language to pronounce, and Makusi is the correct term, and Makusi is the Inuktitut version of Marcus, and so during the pandemic we were always looking for ways to expand, and a couple of family members have released books up to date, and namely my brother, who is an amputee, who was a musician in his own right as well. He had a documentary about his life and journey with dog mushing and the whole dog slaughter issue, and so it ties into a lot of what we sing about, and so we said, okay, I think we can do this as well. And we reached out to the publisher and wanted to know if it would be interesting for us to do something like this, and they bid on it right away, and we were super excited, and so we got to the drawing board right away. We kind of had a layout in our brains already, and it just became this story tale of what it's like to be a young Indigenous or Inuk person in the north, and having this conversation with, let's say, an elder or a grandmother or grandfather, and what it was like in their time to what it is now. And I think that's music obviously is the metaphor in all of this, but I think it goes hand in hand with everything in life in the north. Things have changed really fast. We literally went from igloos to internet in 50 years. So it's something that, as far as like the stories itself, it's relevant to all the Arctic Circle populations, what their experience was like, and throughout our touring, we got to hear these stories. And just me being from the north, I knew these stories. So it was a great, I guess, ode to my childhood, being of mixed descent as well. Obviously, the young boys, we wanted to make sure that it reflected of what mostly the population is like.
Yeah, and I think it was really important for us. Like, we do a lot of work with school boards across Canada, and we do, like, all during the pandemic. What you see behind us is our home stage and our studio. And so what we would do is we would play live shows, stream them live into the classrooms, onto the whiteboards, or even onto their laptops when all the students were still at school. And we would share the stories in between our songs. And we'd have a lot of teachers afterwards that would email and say, hey, like, this is amazing stuff. Like, we wish there was more resources so that we could expose our children more to these stories directly from the source. So I think a lot of that had a play on this like idea of putting out a book. And we had a few teachers that said, do you guys realize you're actually teachers? And it was like, oh, no, we've never actually thought of that. And like, what a beautiful thing to be told, because, when you can teach someone beautiful things, but also darker parts of history, but in a way that makes it accessible, I think it's really important. And so with this book, especially for me, I was very lucky that my parents read to me every single night. That was like our thing, and that's how I would calm down and I would get ready for bed. And imagery, like the photo, like the pictures in the books, were always something that were so important, because I had a reading writing disability. I still have it today, but so I could not read or write until at least the age of 13, and like with a lot of intervention, obviously that helped along the way. But when we were writing this, I kept thinking of the kids that maybe can't read yet, you know, that they have their parent or a teacher that's going to sit down with them and let them come into this world and see through the pictures as well, that connection. And so I think for me, being a person with a reading and writing disability, also holding, like, when we got these in the mail, and I was like, we did this. Like, this is so cool. Like, I'm someone that they said would probably never learn to read or write, and now we're published authors. So it was a really, really special moment, and we hope that kids and adults, because I think adults can learn a lot from it too, and that's what we wanted. It's not just a children's book. It's an information, like, learning tool, which we hope will get into people's homes and help them inspire to learn more about the Arctic and all the beauty that exists up there.
The Inuktitut edition is almost out, and the French edition will be out in the fall, in the spring as well. So we're looking forward to those as well.